And here we are. Hello, everybody. Tracey Noriega here, paying it forward to you on Power to the PEEPS. PEEPS stands for Positive, Extraordinary, Everyday People Stories. And I have an extraordinary, empowering angel, Anthea Fenton, here with me today. Uh, yeah, bless you, Anthea. It's so good to have you. We
Oh,
actually
it's
know
great
each
to be
other for
here.
quite a few years, so
We
it's
do,
it's
we
it's
do.
it's a pleasure to have you here and speak
Thank you.
into the beautifulness that you have been creating. And we have two big topics to talk about. We have your storytelling process, but right now, I know you're super excited, as I am for you as well. The intuitive game of Empower in an Hour that is coming out and making its, well, worldwide debut. So, would you like to explain that?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tracey, for this opportunity to be here to share this amazing process and also these amazing tools. And it's wonderful to see you shining, to see you out here helping this process of getting our voices out there. Because as you know, that many of us are highly sensitive, empathic people that have not really found our way in the world because our world's just been so kind of dark and limited. And so it's brilliant that here we are at the end of 2020 having this space just to talk about these tools that have been around for around 20 years. They've been around for a long time. I've been at this for a long time. But the book process, which is where we met, is a process of an opportunity to write your story. And the reason for that is to raise our voices, to kind of like break free of our cords, our voice cords, which obviously we know about energy and helping to resonate with other people, but also as well to kind of clear our history of our ancestors, maybe the suffering that our ancestors and our previous generations kind of like went through. So this is the first time in many ways that we're able to really sit online and on Zoom and this kind of space to be able to share our stories. So I offer a very, very simple empowerment process that is just about to just be incredible, just in terms of what we're going to be achieving. It's, like I said, based on us telling our story. So it's very simple. It's about, how we've all gone down a very similar system. How has that worked for us? Where do we get our messages from in terms of education, in terms of our health and looking after ourselves? Because one of the biggest things about empaths is that we're great at looking after other people, but we're not necessarily great at looking after ourselves. And so over the years of working in care, right from being 3 years of age, looking after my sister, I've always looked at care and wondered, often neglected myself to look after others, and just really from the age of 4 years and 11 months when I started school, was just looking after everybody else other than myself. And just wondered how many other people had struggled maybe through the education system because there was so much trauma that was going on at home that they felt disadvantaged in the way that our system, it's kind of, if you've got a degree, if you've got, get a good job, get a good education, then you can survive in this world. But what if you didn't have that as your start, where you weren't able to sit in class and learn because you had so much trauma going on? And so what I've done really is created tools to encourage us to speak out, to speak our truth. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. It's that unconditional love of just holding space and seeing what happens. And so the book process is very much about that. And then the game came after the book process. So I'd wrote my story after going through lots of trauma in the workplace and was signed off sick with stress, anxiety, and depression and tracheitis. I'd lost the use of my voice because my voice wasn't being heard, which is why the storytelling is really important. And then wrote the story process, and I just felt that I just had to write that story just for me, just to make sense of my upbringing, to make sense of what was going on in the workplace, to make sense of my colleagues, mainly women that were slightly older than me, just working out why do we treat each other the way that we do. And so this process was kind of like, who else is going through this? And so the book's wrote in 3 parts. And the third part of that, the last third, is for everybody to reflect their story. As you know, you've gone through that process.
Yeah.
And what came out of that was because I was out there in the community and finding other people who were similar, I was kind of like, can we speed this process up? I mean, even though it's only a 24-hour process, it's 24 chapters over however you want, but really it should be 24 days, just a chapter a day, keeps the stress at bay. I just thought to myself, is there something else that we can bring that's much quicker, that's fun, that we can all do, that really lifts the heart into a higher vibration, regardless of what's going on for us? And the game came to me within an hour. I'd drawn the game out, and it's taken 10 years. So it's not taken an hour. It's taken 10 years to come to this moment. I've just ordered, in the first time in 10 years, another batch of games. And even that was kind of like, wow, we really had to wait for lockdown. We really had to wait for the world to kind of like catch up to this process. But I've just been hammering on, just reaching out to people and getting them to come along and play this amazing transformational game that you transform within an hour.
Yeah. So how would you, because I know I'm part of this group, to go out there and find people to experience this beautiful, intuitive game? I mean, if I were to explain it, it would kind of be like, well, you come forth with a question that may be hanging over your head for a while, that you want some insight with. And, we hear that all the answers are already inside you, but, we sit there in our mind forever, and where nothing actually is that serves us. And you go through this process of this game. How would you say it came forth for you to make this game, and what, I guess, teasers or tantalizers would you encourage people who may watch this to why would they want to participate in this game process?
Absolutely. And the game came about when personal development's been a big thing for me, because I knew as a child, having suffered from trauma, that I knew that I thought, it's got to have affected me somehow. And so I think I was too young to be diagnosed. And so I wasn't attached to a label. And so what I knew, after going through lots of different relationship issues with people and really feeling alone, I knew that education, learning to remember was really important, because I knew that there were certain things when I was going through study that I would know, and the lecturers would be baffled. And so I knew that there was something inside, and I knew that personal development probably was the area to tap into. Not that I knew that it was personal development at the time. And so I ended up going along to an Anthony Robbins event. I heard Anthony Robbins on a CD. I just thought, wow, actually, I really resonate. So I went along to an Anthony Robbins event, which was the walking on hot coals. I burnt my feet. Which was great, because that was the trigger. I had to go back again, because I just thought, no, people aren't burning their feet. What's going on? There was obviously something that I was distracted with. And what I was distracted with is, partway through the firewalk, Anthony Robbins asked to partner up with somebody, and I'd partnered up with a guy, 6 foot tall German man, who, as we got outside, said, "Anthea, can I just hold on to your arm, because I can't see very well?" And that was the trigger, because I was doing this work, contributing to service, and immediately all my energy went on the panic of kind of like, this guy's got to get across this call. I have no idea if he's going to do it. He's blind. It's like, oh my gosh. So all that energy went to him, to the point where when it came to me, I was like, oh my gosh, actually, I forgot what we're meant to do, So it was just a disaster. So I went back the second time, and in that second visit, I just thought to myself, what if, Anthony Robbins is talking to, there's like 10,000 people in the room. And I just thought, that's one too many. I thought, whatever I do, and I kind of like made an intention, whatever I do, I want it to affect 10,000 people, empower them so that they can do and achieve abundance of wealth and health and vitality and everything else. I wanted something that everybody could do, that levels out the playing field, not puts us above anybody else, but makes us all equal. And so that was the thread. The thread was started. And then that was the thread for the game. And I knew that a lot of, in my experience, that it's a challenge being a Black woman, especially in England, in the Northwest. I guess I stand out. I've realized that now, I'm in a minority. And those lessons that I've learned along the way have just been so valuable, because I just thought, what places, okay, we can identify our differences. What makes us all the same? What is it that we're all challenged with? And that's when I came up with the money. with health, time,
Mm-hmm.
personal development, whether or not we choose to or choose not to, hopes and dreams, those dreams that we have as children, but as we get to adults and we start being fitted into this box. And then our plan and goal, most of us only spend our time planning our holidays every year. We never plan our lives and how we want to achieve or lay down those intentions. And so that was it. That formed these shapes, which had already come together because of the book process. But now I was drawing them. I was drawing them every day, putting them on the flip chart. The kids were kind of contributing to that as well. So they're the founders of this process. So it's very childlike, but it's a childlike innocence. And so that's how those symbols became the symbols of, okay, so when I speak to people, I say, which area have you got an imbalance in, or which area would you like to focus on that you've maybe not focused on before? Because when I looked at people as they were playing the game, they'd often look at money, the cloud, but they'd be kind of like, oh, and then afterwards they'd say, well, I was going to choose that, but it's not really good, is it, talking about money? And so that's a different conversation. That was right at the beginning 10 years ago. Now most people will go, money, that's the imbalance for me. And it always comes out in the game anyway. It often comes out in the game, because I don't think we understand, well, we think money is hard to come by if we're in that mindset. But what we're bringing together as empowering angels in many ways is a different way to help to distribute the wealth. Yeah. So, we know that there's a small percentage of people in our world that have got the majority of wealth, and then the rest of us have got less. So it's about how do we tip that balance where we generate money and we're able to then put those resources pay forward. So this is all paid forward right now. All what I'm doing is paid forward, and I've done that for almost 20 years of paying forward. But I know that I needed to. We just needed one person to pay it forward and pay the tools forward, so that then we can then redistribute the wealth in a very different way than what we were used to.
Yeah. So one of the things I love about what is both seen in the book process, in the storytelling process, and as you mentioned, for those who may just be joining, it's 24 chapters, and what Anthea has done is really to look at 24 areas that we all share in common. So as much as we may be unique and different in where we grew up, color of our skin, our background, our religious upbringing, etc., we all share the same worries, the same aspirations, the same dreams. And just by having us reflect on each of those areas, which many times we don't even do that, like really look at, where did I get these beliefs? Where did I get these, thoughts about, or what was told to me about these things, and why do I think that way about it? I think that's one of the really beautiful things about your storytelling process, because it allows us all to really take a moment and step back to look at our lives. And I think a big thing to say to everybody is, this storytelling process isn't like you have to write a novel. With the other beautiful thing that Anthea does, it's just like kind of a stream of consciousness. It's one piece of paper, just she shares her story. There's the topic. You just let what comes out. And
Absolutely.
It's just that beautiful, just self-expression. But, for those who are watching too, when you come together and read your chapters with people, that's another very empowering and healing process, as you were talking about, because you're hearing other people's stories. And one of the beautiful things I know I've shared with you about this is, when you hear other people's stories, you hear your story in their story. And it is just one of those revelations that we all are very much the same.
Absolutely. Which is why, the term empowering angels is, you can see it different ways, but empowering angels is because we are all the same, and we've all got that lovingness in us, which most people might class as being angelic. But it's about being able to recognize that we are all the same, and it's only when we come together and we share our voices that all of a sudden it's like this piece of cake. We realize that we're all just a slice of that cake, and the beauty, it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful process, because the healing that takes place, we've never had the opportunity to sit and communicate and talk on a very basic level, but a very deep level. And I think the process, because the process felt like it was gifted to me. I was just, even the images, so childlike, but it was really about tapping into that innocent child that the innocence of every single one of us, even though we may be adults, but we've still got that inner fire within, and it's really is about reigniting that if we not necessarily removed all our experiences that were negative, we needed our negative experiences to break through the pain. And what we realize is that when we are talking, there's a couple of things that are coming up for me here now, is that when we're talking, we're releasing some of the pain that we've experienced. So we're no longer holding on to those memories. And some people will say, well, isn't repeating your story doing that? No, it's not. What it's doing is it's healing that part of us that maybe we couldn't do the healing when we were a child, when we were younger. We couldn't do it then. We arrive at a point where we share our story automatically. It's, we put the pen on the paper, and we might think we're going down one road, and it ends up going down another road by the time we've ended on that page. And that's our intuitive self. That's that well of insight that is a wisdom, that's an ancient wisdom that we tap into when we're going through the storytelling process. Because what we're doing is, not only are we reading somebody's story, we're taking one layer, we're then reflecting, we're writing, we're typing it up, and we're emailing it, and then we come and read it. We're breaking many levels of a process. So it means that we're detoxing any layers, anything that's remaining in our being that's stunting us from reaching our full potential. Then we're going there. And as we go there, we tap in. There's an intuitive wisdom that we tap into that's very hard to describe what it is, but it's a knowingness. It's an assertiveness within ourselves, and we do that layer by layer. So going through the process, the main thing that I've seen is that people transform. They transform, and that the reason for doing the book process, book acts as the manual for the actual game. Because when we sit and play the game is really powerful, and everybody's invited to come and play the game. We offer a free complimentary session, so anybody who's watching this is entitled and welcome to come along and take up that session. Because one of the things that I believe is that when we share our stories and we come to play the game, as we're playing the game, whoever comes to us is going to possibly trigger us with our own, because we're the same. And so by going through the book process, we're just going at a deeper level, so that then you're able to really help to facilitate somebody over this bridge of transition that we're all going through. And so the game really helps us to connect. It helps us to clear our own vessel, so that we can really be that clear canvas and hear that person. Because when somebody says something and it triggers us, we don't want that button to be triggered on us, because it's taken away from the person in front of us. So it really helps us to clear our own vessel of our own issues, our own imbalances, heals us, so that then we're able to offer that surplus of healing to somebody else just by holding space.
Yeah. So let's remind anyone who's watching, this is also an invitation. This is an open invitation to come into the process too. I know we were kind of going back and forth between the storybook process and the game process, but right now, Anthea is offering, kind of just the really beautiful moment to come in and experience the game. This is also to train the empowering angels who have gone through the storybook process, who have completed that whole transformational process of telling their story and, saying it in front, like basically having it witnessed, like, you testifying, right? But then that opens up this whole ability to hold the space for this game, which right now, is an open invitation. And I'm a little upset that the little ticker at the bottom is not working at this moment. But I know I'm nice sitting here trying to get this thing going. It's like right there, but I know it's up in the description that the URL is there. So
it's back on again, I think, Tracey.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's going along.
It's funny, I don't see it on mine, so I'm just going to let it go.
Yeah, that's
but
the one.
Yeah, the invitation is, if you're interested, if there's some part of you that's like, I want to find out about this, and we're looking for that feedback. We're looking for people to come in, because it has not ever been done online like this too. So it's again, a pay it forward and an exchange of energy for you to experience it, give your feedback, have that beautiful moment to be supported by an empowering angel and support them in holding that space. So please, sign up there. And if you do go through that process and you're more interested in stuff, then there's the storybook process, which, maybe that's something to share with people, because many people are stuck at home, maybe stuck in their story, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, if we always do what we've always done, we'll always get what we've always got,
Yeah.
And one of the things about the storytelling is that because our story runs alongside everything that we're doing. So this is a process that it's not a full-time process. It's very much integrate this process within who you are. And it's really interesting, actually, because it brought up an issue that one of the things about what the empowering angels. So when I started out, I was obviously doing this process on my own, and really always knew that it was a gift back to humanity. So it was about, how do I get this gift out there to humanity? And because we've got this exchange of money, that was a whole other issue. Do we charge? Do I charge? How do I do it? We don't charge for our time, because our time, nobody would be able to afford us, because we are worth trillions. That's the bottom line. And so this whole thing of exchanging our time for money is coming to a head, because we have to start thinking creatively in other ways. So what we do is we market it through ourselves, through our journey, through sharing and just listening to other people and signposting them. And what we're doing is, the game and the book are products that people can purchase. So by purchasing the products, it means that you're able to become an empowering angel once you've finished the process. Because obviously the process is just huge. It's massive. And so when I first started out, the book was the first thing. So we do have the book process as a separate process that people can do. We always invite people to come in and create that balance, first of all, by seeing if we're a good match to work with you. That's the beauty about having that consultation with the game. You get to experience the game. You get to experience a facilitator, which is an empowering angel, who's walking the talk. So they've gone through the process. They've gone, and they're offering the same process, which means that it's not a case of just going to get a qualification and then you're superior to somebody else. This is about all of us gaining the same qualification. And that's what kind of makes this process unique, because I've come across a lot of people in the spiritual community who are all coming from different angles, which is perfectly fine. But when do we all get onto the same page? And so this is an invitation, an offering for all of us to be able to do that, because our qualifications are kind of redundant, because there's so many different disparities. That's not what's the word?
Discrepancies or
discrepancies. I was going to say, discrepancies between. I don't normally use that word. Discrepancies between, like somebody will say, "Oh, I've done Reiki and I've done Reiki." I did Reiki as an example, and I walked into a Reiki master's home, and she said to me, "You're already a healer. Don't understand why you're here." I'd already done Reiki, the Reiki masters and teachers, with somebody else. And when she looked at the information, and she was like, "This is completely the opposite way around." It's like, and I said, I never resonated with it, which is why I had to come to see you, because it didn't feel right. So, that in itself highlighted, wow, how many other people are out there that are saying that they've done these qualifications. They're not the same right across the board. It's not the same. So what we're doing is putting us all onto that level playing field, giving us all an opportunity to generate an income, giving us all an opportunity to work together instead of in isolation, giving us an opportunity to really shine in our truth, and to prepare us for what's going to come, because we really don't know what our world's going to. Right now, none of us really know. So in a way, the only certainty that we have is in us and our story. That's it. So it really is about strengthening who we are as a person, and recognizing, we've done loads of personal development. Absolutely. You don't need to do another course. This isn't a course. This is an opportunity to remember who you are. And it's just the beginning part of the journey. It really is just the beginning part.
Well, I think there's a couple points there that stand out to me that I feel, should really be shared with the viewers here. Is, first of all, too, about like the healing, what you spoke about healing. It's like so many times we go somewhere believing it's somebody else healing us, when it's really them facilitating ourselves to heal ourselves, because it's really us who heal ourselves. They're providing the tools, or, gifting the energy, holding the space. which I feel a lot is this process, especially in the storytelling process. And what you pointed out too, which, you know, I've heard in the groups when I've participated, well, you know, I've already healed that part, or I've gone past that part. I don't want to revisit it. And one thing is, guess what? Well, one, you don't have to revisit that particular part. I mean, you know, again, there'll be a chapter on education. You
Yeah.
can speak about whatever angle of education that you want to. And it's really interesting when you sit in the groups and listen to the angles that everybody comes at with it, because, you know, it's not said there is no right or wrong way.
No.
And the other beautiful thing is, in a way, you're getting to rewrite your story, because if you really allow yourself to write it as in it's just coming through you, you get to kind of just witness. I know I have, you know, I did this process with you, was 2 years ago, and, you know, recently reread some of those chapters, and I'm just like, you know, some things have come out where I'm like, oh my gosh, that I can't believe I said that 2 years ago, and here we are 2 years later, and some
Yeah.
of that stuff's kind of happening, or it's already been released and healed, or just, wow, that was where I went with that, you know,
Yeah.
and where I'm at is just so different. But you could see that was whatever needed to be healed or what needed to be expressed. And you have the opportunity to rewrite it, because I think
Yeah.
that's the thing. A lot of people, you know, our stories don't define us. They help, you know, they're not who we are, but they obviously shaped us, and they gave us so many, you know, really gifts, right?
Absolutely. And even as you say that, Tracey, one of the things that a lot of people, when I wrote my book, I remember thinking, and even when I look at it now, I just think, gosh, that was quite tame. But it was obviously what just came out. And because it was just a picture book at first, and somebody said, well, where's your story? And I was kind of like, actually, that's the point. And so that's how I ended up writing the story. So I didn't know that it was like, okay, I need to write about why did I, you know, why each of these chapters? The images just came to me. But one of the things that I realized is that when people come to write this story, a lot of people say, well, I don't want to upset anybody. I don't want to write in there and kind of like, you know, get people's backs up, and it's like my family. And it doesn't, the process doesn't kind of work like that. You are in control of what you write until there's a point where something will inspire you to write that automatically. And also the automatic writing is often not about anybody else. It's about yourself. So it's kind of like, so when I was writing, I remember I put one part in there. I was thinking, oh, my mum's not going to be happy that I've put this in. But then I thought to myself, do you know what? This is the purpose of the process. This is my process. For the first time, I was able to write about me. Nobody else, didn't matter about anybody else, even though it was a cloud at times. It was about me. How many opportunities do we get to really just explore us? Nothing else, just us. And I see people coming along each week and sharing the story, and it's absolute privilege. You know, when somebody says to me, no, I'm not ready to tell the story, then I think, for me, sometimes spiritual ego comes in there, because it's kind of like, people, like you say, people will say, oh, I've done that. It's like we're in a spiral. It comes back round again. It's like, where are you at with that now? You know, because one moment you can be triggered. One lady came along, I remember she read the story. She was so triggered by this incident that had happened with her years previous. And she was in tears. She was absolutely in tears. And she'd been distraught the night before when she'd wrote the chapter. She was distraught again. And at the time we were holding the sessions daily, she came back the following day, completely different person, reading out the story, was able to read it without any wobble. And that was a real example of, she needed to get it out of her system, because that wobbling and that compromise that's taking place with the story that's inside of us, buried, it's eating its way, you know. And I've just lost it, not lost, but my dear friend has evolved, who was part of this process, and she had buried so much, so deep, that it came out in cancer in her bowel. And she knew, and as she was doing this process, it was being released. It was being released, and she was healing, but it was too late. But was it too late? It was her choice. But, you know, seeing Law and seeing how much she buried, there were so many layers that had to be lifted on a daily basis, because she'd got into this spiral And that's what happens when we have pain that's unaddressed. It will just keep on spiraling. It doesn't stop. It's still there. You have to address it every single day. So, it's yes, we tell our story and we release, but we have to keep on doing the spiritual discipline, because if we don't, people have come back to the storytelling and said, you know what, there's a few other areas that have just lifted as a result of going through those. I have to keep on working at them. And that's the beauty of the community, because we're working at them every day. We're working at them each week as we all meet together, and as we share our stories and our journeys, we're keeping on just doing a little bit to make sure that we're airing all the rooms every day in our system. It's essential.
And that's a beautiful way of putting it, too, because anyone who journals does know the power of journaling, right? Just to get that out, just to put it out, so it's just not going round and round in your head, that monkey mind of just saying it over and over. So I'm going to get it out. I'm going to write it down. I'm just going to leave it. And a lot of people don't journal. So, that is part of this process. And I would say it is a self-care, self-love process, the going through this for yourself,
And what you're saying there about journals as well is what's been really good is that a lot of people, when we're evolving over time with this process, so as people are coming on board who have done a lot of spiritual practice, this process just pushes some buttons that's on another level. Because I think when we're journaling, we're still in our own world. We're still just journaling, and it's a secret way of being, in many ways. We're not standing up. We're not believe you me, it's kind of like, even as I'm saying it, it's like speaking out is so important, because it takes it onto another level. It just sends it out to the universe energetically, into it on a different level that is just magical what comes back. So a lot of people have felt that they've been able to take some deeper layers off by going through the process. And that's what we need to do. There's nothing wrong in crying. There's nothing wrong in in expressing kind of like some of these deep emotions of shame, of guilt, of blame. All those things are just all part of the ego. And when we sit and we all share, then we're blasting those much quicker than when we would be just doing those as an individual. Right.
Well, and I think that's the big key is, one, you have something, when you're journaling, you can choose what you're going to say, how long you're going to say it, this and that. There is a bit of, there is a bit of, how would you say, format. I don't want to say rules or guidelines, but, it's sort of like, hey, this is the topic. Here's this, you read your story, or whoever's leading the group reads their story to initiate that. And then they let flow what flows. But the big difference is, let's, you let it flow, you come back and you get it to fit on one page, because, since we come together, and I think that's the real key, is being witnessed, right? Because we can write things in our journal and tuck it away like we do in ourselves. And yet when you come as a community to express yourself and be heard, which a lot of people have never, I don't know how many times I've witnessed people say, I've never even shared this. I've never said this before to anyone, or maybe only 2 or 3 people know. And then all of a sudden it happens in a community who's all holding the space. And again, for those who are watching, nobody is there to give you advice or tell you what to do. It's just like a circle, like, one of those stick circles where you come in, you read your story, and you move on to the next. And everybody just shares that space. And just by doing that, just by offering it, it just kind of goes out there, like you said, it's an offering, and it's a healing for other people, because I know I've heard other people's stories that have just like really, tugged at my heartstrings, and yet I'm to be there to hold that for them, let them express it, get it out, and then see. How many people are so strong that go on every day with these things inside of them. They've endured. It's amazing.
It blows me away every single time when I hear people share the depth of their stories. That really, again, is a brilliant thing, because it triggers us in so many different ways. Everybody's different, and it affects everybody differently. But I know for me that when I'm hearing that we're just offering that space of compassion for humanity, just to share their truth, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. The transformation in people is just incredible. And I know that there's people that have been in that space that have had years and years and years and years of therapy. You know, I've come across a lot of people who've had years of therapy. That's been my specialist area for all my life. And yet this takes everybody to a different level that is just not even, it's just not out there. But the beautiful thing is there is nobody the expert. We're all experts. Nobody's above anybody, you know, and that's what I love, is that we're just all the same. There's no difference. There's no pedestal. And I think you just said something there that just dawned on me, and it's just floated away. It's just that beauty of us all coming together and sharing and learning and growing. It's just incredible. It's hard to put, as you said before, the process, the format is that what we're doing is when we're sharing our story, we share our story, and this is the bit that I nearly forgot. And what I see it as being, just to give you that visual, is like we're laying down petals. So as we're sharing our petals in our story, and this is why each facilitator, each empowering angel goes first. They go first each time, just to let people know we're giving, you know, this is permission for you to share your truth. And so as each of us throw down those petals, we're doing that in order for the next person to come down and share their story, and then they distribute their petals. So it is a very gentle and a very loving process, just a very giving and compassion. We're bringing compassion. We're revolutionizing the way that we care, so that we're putting ourselves first, so that we can be 100% optimum of health to be able to help and empower other people. That's what we're doing. Most of the time, people go into care, or they're going into healing from a place of, you know, of emptiness. Often through hurt, we can go in and think, oh, we can help somebody else. But it's like, hold on a minute, we've created this really sick environment when it comes to health and caring, you know. So this is about really strengthening us, because you need to be like an athlete. You need to be 100% optimum. Okay, we're not going to be 100% optimum, but we're going to be more or less there. We're topping ourselves up each time that we come together, each time that we're sharing our story, each time that we empower someone to take action in their own lives and giving them choices. Then we're actually strengthening our foundations as well.
Yeah. So we have gone over top of the hour, but I just said, yeah, I know. But, you know, I really want to say to people who may be out there, and I know, you know, many places like the UK and certain states here in the US are, you know, revisiting yet another lockdown. And, you know, I've heard the anguish, I've heard the, you know, from those who are close to me and whatnot, and in the other communities that I'm in, of just this, oh, you know, this, I thought it'd be over by now. So, you know, if you're stuck at home, if you're feeling this way, I'm just going to encourage you all to, yeah, one, take the open invite to experience the game and see what you feel from there. And, you know, take that as we said, you know, if you're going to keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you got. So you want something new and different, you got to do something new and different. So have, you know, give yourself that gift of doing something outside of the box and allowing yourself just this moment to be heard and held by an empowering angel. Experience the game. And, you know, if it feels good to you, then I encourage you to check into seeing about telling your story, because it is your story. And I know Anthea will back me up here. Everyone doesn't, you know, we all doubt our story and whether there's anything to it, or anything that's, you know, the validity, or it's not that great, or, you know, I mean, there are the people who, I mean, it's all over the board, from the ones that are like, well, I don't want to go there with that, or, well, I don't have anything that was really traumatic, so I don't have a story, you know? So there's the people who think, you know, but everybody's story is so chock full. I can't tell you, everyone who reads every single time, and when they doubt themselves, it's just, they continue to blow everybody away. So, you know, trust that in yourself, that you do have a story to tell. And which reminds me of the lady Sandra Martinelli, who has a book that's the story you need to tell. And very much everything you've said, Anthea, and she did it for herself for cancer, and now goes around to help cancer patients go through that process of just getting out all of that. And that's what it is. It's a cathartic thing. And right now, if you are stuck at home and stuck in your head, drop into your heart. You know, this is an opportunity to drop in your heart, to release those things that need to be let go as we enter into 2021, because we all need to reinvent ourselves. And
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
this whole world right now is asking for a huge change, and it begins with us. So
Absolutely. And I think that's why we keep on having lockdown. You know, when lockdown happened, it was about, you know, everybody was forced within. This is that inner
yes.
transformation. This is part of go within and find alternatives. Let's create alternatives. Let's create the world that we really, really felt that we need to be part of. So absolutely, Tracey, thank you so much for the time today, because
No, you as well.
wonderful just to be able to get the message out there, because it's just not been told enough, you know.
No.
So yeah, absolutely fantastic. And also let people know as well that, you know, we will have a waiting list for appointments, for because we're currently training our empowering angels, and the games are getting out there to the team. And so I want to hold some of those appointments back, so that then the team is able to facilitate some people as well. So if you don't get an appointment straight away, or I will be in touch with you, but certainly there will be a waiting list, so that we can make sure that everybody gets into the new year with a real boom of upliftment and energy from those new
definitely. Yeah. And so happy to have you on here. I'm happy for you that just seeing the game like have its rebirth, you know, and it can be a rebirth and revolution. Just, yes, if you want to be empowered in an hour, empowered by an angel, and potentially become an empowering angel, please do visit the website, get yourself on the wait list to experience what it is to be empowered in an hour. And just do something new and different while you're home on lockdown.
How we transform the world in lockdown.
Yes.
How wonderful would that be?
Well, and it is true. It's the journey within, right? I mean, I have another mentor. That's the name of her book, The Journey Within. And that has been this past year, is everybody having to really go inside. And, you know, people talk about decluttering their houses and stuff. We need to declutter all that, all our souls, right?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tracey.
All right. Thank you, Anthea. And everyone out there, encourage you all, please, you know, do give it a look, and give yourself the opportunity. And any closing words, Anthea, before we go?
Just that everybody's welcome. You know, we've got an open door. Everybody's welcome. And I just thank you, Tracey, for being on this journey and sharing this journey, because you're a witness of this whole process, you know, which is fantastic that we're witnessing each other's journey. So I thank you for sharing your journey with me, and for witnessing my journey as well.
Yes, and thank you for your service to humanity, and just staying with it, just staying the course, so to speak, and watching what's happening now with everyone coming forth to share in this process and make it and share it with humanity. So thank you so much, and everyone, thank you for joining us, and stay tuned next week for Power to the Peeps. Cheers. Have a beautiful day, a beautiful rest of your never before lived day. Stay happy, healthy, and positive. Cheers.